everybody. This is Heather McIntyre, International Life and Wellness Empowerment Coach, and you are listening to Real Talk with Momma Mac. Wow, thank you for showing up here today. I'm really excited. This is our second edition of the podcast, and Real Talk with Momma Mac is everything life, love, family, and in between. I My intention with creating this crazy little conversation is that we'll spark some interest. We'll open the conversation. We'll talk about some of the things that aren't always talked about, that aren't perfect, that we kind of don't normally speak to just because we don't want to let people into the real world that we're living every day. And let's face it, let's cut through all the crap. We are all living in a real world. Everyone has their own set of expectations, their own set of issues and concerns and joys and triumphs that they're working through on a daily. And I think that, the world would be a much better place if we were all to just acknowledge that shit happens, man. And things show up and things happen, and we don't always act in our most appropriate ways. But if we are able to truly act with intention to do the right thing, then that's what changes the world. So, Real Talk with Momma Mac here this week is going to get a little bit personal about something that is really close to my family and close to myself personally. And for many of you who might know me, I have had a struggle with weight loss and my wellness story for many years now. I was trying to think about when the story really truly started to begin to spark. And I was thinking, oh, it was my, teenage adult years. But you know what? It went way back from there. And I realize that now. And as you start to shine some light on things, you have those aha moments, those times where you go, wow, yeah, shit, I didn't realize that impacted me that much. And so we're going to have a conversation about that today. Like I said, I am an international life and wellness coach. And so I work with people daily on trying to and succeeding in changing their stories, in bringing the highest version of themselves to light, and really truly working and doing the hard work to make that old patterning healed and set up new habits to create that new loop of empowerment, engagement, love, light, healing, and all those things. On social media, there's been quite a few quotes lately about talking about everybody has a story, and we all know everybody has a story about wounding and how there is power in knowing that the way in which you actually can move through and create a better version of yourself is by facing your healing and your feelings head on. I've always been a very emotional person, and at times, I get kind of shamed and blamed for being that person. But that person is who stands here before you today and is totally capable of holding the space for multiple people to heal, and holding the space of having awareness that the world is a bigger place, and that if we were all just to truly address our feelings, we would be in a much different situation. So I know I kind of went down a little bit of a rabbit hole there, but there is a rabbit hole for a reason, because our feelings and our emotions are directly linked to the way in which our wellness story plays out. So I guess my first question to all of my listeners is, what is your wellness story? Where are you showing up for yourself in your world? And what does that look like? Are you, do you eat out of boredom? Do you eat out of fear, anxiety, and panic? Do you eat on the run? Do you not eat and then just, dive into the deepest well of food possible to fuel your body? Um, what kind of story were you shown as a young person? What did you learn? I know that this probably sounds a lot like everything comes back to my parents, and I'm not trying to imply that in any way, but the truth is that our parents are our first line of defense in setting up the way in which we self-regulate, in the way in which we learn our lessons. And so if we have wounded, broken parents and they're just, running through the shit show of their life trying to succeed and trying to overcome without really truly living an intentional life of learning and sharing, the best parts of what basic nutrition is, what basic, feelings are, what basic understanding and communication are, then it's proven. We're living in a generation where we see that, all kinds of people have been impacted by the situations that were not theirs. They were born into. And then they've learned those habits and they're standing in a world caught between a crossroads of I want to be this biggest, best version of myself, but all I know is this. All I know is pain. All I know is suffering, victimization, victimhood, strife, struggle, scarcity, all of these things. And so, I guess my conversation here today and the power of my conversation wants to be around that. Let's stop this. I remember in the 80s, there was a fitness guru that said, stop the insanity. Really, let's stop the insanity of all of this. Let's stop it right in its tracks. Let's address our feelings, our emotions, our events, and the reasons why in which we have this powerful circuitry in our brain that's playing out that says that doing all of these things that, are misleading us is the way in which you live your best life. Let's face it. You need to be the driver of your bus. If you're not driving the bus of your best life, then you're not going to get it. If you're not going to do the hard work to get you there, then it's always going to be that goal that's just outside, or that, oh, I didn't do that anyway, but that's okay because you know what? Nobody in my family has really truly accomplished that. What is that? That is a learned behavior. So I guess where I want to start here today is just talking about perhaps maybe taking a look at your wellness story. If you've got an abundance of weight that needs to be lost, how are you doing that? Are you doing it? Are you coming up with, roadblocks and adversity? Are you being supported in your life? Do you have, we all self-sabotage, but do you have family and personal and friend saboteurs that are there that really don't want to see you succeed? So they, entice you and tempt you with, oh, don't worry about it. You can pick back up tomorrow. You can do this. You can do that. I know in my life, I've had those kinds of situations happen to me. And whenever I'm in that loop of that old childhood loop of, oh, okay, it's okay. That's fine. I'll just put myself to the back. I'll do what they want and we'll move along and I'll pick back up with me tomorrow. The reality is I never ever pick back up with me tomorrow, because that loop, it gets so strong with each time that you shut yourself down, that you surrender to things that are outside of your own personal needs. We talk about boundaries. Boundaries are huge, and they're again something that most of us not have had the liberty of learning how to set up to really create and to enforce in our life. So If I was to ask you a question about your current weight story that was framed something like this, what, if you were to look at yourself in a mirror today, what is it that you see looking back at you? What are the words that pop into your head whenever you are looking at the version of yourself today? Are you happy? Are you comfortable? What do you see? Get into those, places of, I'm going to get really honest and personal. For the longest time, I could not look in a mirror. And even now, it's much better than it was, but it's not perfect. And there are times where my own inner critic just starts to lash out and says, oh my God, if you hadn't done that, then you wouldn't like that, like this. Oh my goodness, look at, that part of your body. Oh, and then, it's like that loop in my head plays out and says, oh, well, doesn't matter. Your whole family's been like this, and it's just the way, it's something you've inherited, so move along. It doesn't have to be that way. And I myself am running this, race with you. So don't ever feel like you're alone on the track. Every day in my journey is a choice. And am I perfect? Absolutely not. But have I really, truly transformed at least 80% of my life? You bet I have. Was it a lot of work? Yeah, it was. But it's so worth it to be able to know that when I fall into those negative loops, into those, pardon me, dips and holes of self-criticism, judgment, and all of those things, that I can find myself out. So if you're looking, or thinking about yourself, looking in a mirror today, how do you feel? What have you been told about your weight loss or your wellness story? What's been the generational hand down that's come? Kind of like, have my family, all of your aunts are built with, hips as big as, whatever, or legs like stovepipes. Have you heard these kinds of things? What were you told as a very impressionable young person about what wellness looked like? I know we were all educated in school, but Lord knows things have changed so much from then. And I also know that our income and our family lifestyle definitely impacted the way in which we ate as well. So, for a lot of us, eating was it absolutely is a necessity, but what we were eating was geared around what we could pay for. And I think that happens in this world today, because I know that a lot of people, we try to eat as organically as possible. That's very expensive. We eat the rainbow and it's very expensive. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that are on limited incomes that, the easiest choice, and the way that society has made this, is that the easiest choice is to reach for the processed junk, to get the simplicity out of all of these chemicals and this easy peasy stuff to meet our lifestyle needs. We all do it, and I'm not shaming anybody for doing it. But I do encourage you to really, truly take a look at what's fueling your house and what's fueling your body. And I know that it seems overwhelming when you're going to the store with $150 or $200 for groceries and you're trying to feed 4 or 5 people. It can be done, though. You can, definitely make that healthier shift to be able to truly introduce the power of the greens, the vegetables, and the leaner cuts of things, less processed, make more of your own. So I can definitely help you out with that as well. I do a variety of meal prep and planning workshops, and you can definitely check that out on the website. There will be a list of all the upcoming ones that are coming. But back to the conversation at hand here. So as you're, asking those questions about what is your wellness story, what do you hear? Just jot those down. Whatever words come to your mind, what are the things that are said to you? What are the things that have been said to you? I want to just talk a little bit about taking a look at the way in which our patterning is set up. And like I said, we learn a lot from the parents and the impressionable people that raised us. And there's no denying that. It doesn't have to stick with us. And we're going to talk about that a little bit, but I want to give you a little bit of a backstory of why, most of us in this day and age are sitting in a place of really truly struggling with a weight epidemic and finding ourselves, considering drastic movements to change our patterning because of heart disease, because of diabetes, because of obesity, and just unwellness. Now, I know that the world has a really skewed, distorted, and disgusting view on body image. And I am a firm believer that you own you. You do you. Do not, get caught up in the trap of the next best pill, drink, coffee, lotion, fad diet, extreme exercising. All of those things are fast fixes. Do they work? Probably. You know what? I've done quite a lot of them. Are they sustainable? Absolutely not. When you stop whatever program you are doing, fad program you are doing, or specialty product, you are going to find yourself within 6 months back at that point again that you were before you started. And this is so discouraging. This is the part of the diet, weight loss, and body image roller coaster that I absolutely hate. My teenage years were spent, sweating to the oldies, using Thigh Masters, grabbing everything I could. I was on Nutrisystem. I was on Weight Watchers. I was, doing all these things. Now, some of these programs have evolved definitely throughout the years, like the Weight Watchers, I know has evolved. And quite a lot. I don't know if Nutrisystem is still around, but you've got like Jenny Craig and all those things. They talk about the one side of the pie that needs to be addressed with all of this. They do not speak to the very important part of the pie that we don't talk about, and that is our emotions. That is about really truly owning our story, taking a look and visually seeing our story, healing it, and then understanding that it took such power inside of us to get to where we are today. So instead of shaming ourselves for not looking like what society wants us to look like, let's celebrate the fact that we're courageous beasts. We are inner warriors that have come through and gotten us to this point. And look at how much more powerful we can be when we're actually educated on all of the pieces that best fit our own individual body, lifestyle, and plan, and implement them into healthy habits. And that is what my programs are made up of. That is what I have been practicing for, the last 4 years. And that is what has truly been the needle mover to get me beyond the limitations that I always thought I would be at, out of the hamster wheel, the merry-go-round, and the circus roller coaster of the ups and downs and skinny to, fat to skinny to fat to skinny to fat. I hate using those words, but they're words that are in our dialogue, and they're words that are in our vocabulary that we use to associate. I don't want anybody to feel the shame that, comes with all of this. I know that we do, But if we can start to change that conversation and really make the connection between all of the moving pieces and choosing not the fast fixes, but choosing the power of healthy living, will definitely be that big transformational leap that you will make into leading one of the healthiest and best versions of your life that you've ever built. So I want you to just think here for a minute. Bear with me, keep an open mind. Everybody right now, you, I, everybody has a little pharmacy inside of us. And all the time, our body is pumping out hormones and chemicals that it needs to function properly to run this body. Unfortunately, many of us are taking a drug that in excessive amounts causes weight gain. We take it daily, and the drug is called stress. Now, I'm sure people have heard about the adrenal fatigue information that's out there. This speaks to that. If you are running on if you have anxiety, if you are dealing with emotions, and which we all do, or you are dealing with stress on a regular basis, you are actually going to be getting excessive amounts of cortisol in your body. What is cortisol? So stress begins in our amygdala. Took me a long time to learn how to say that word. But in our amygdala, it's an almond-shaped component that's located in our limbic system, or our midbrain. The amygdala has been called the body's smoke detector. So when it senses danger, it tells our brain to initiate a physiological stress response called the fight or flight response. This creates an overproduction of the hormone called cortisol, which studies have linked to increased appetite, sugar cravings, and added abdominal fat. So take a look at the world in which we live. We're all stressed out beings. We've all identified and realized that we do not take time to self-care and self-regulate because we're just pushing through life at a fast and furious pace. So there's no wonder why we're seeing people dealing with these advanced stages of obesity, diabetes, and the part that, an increased abdominal fat around your belly. I know that, when I look back now at everything that was going on in my life, I had all of those things. My belly fat was just insane. And I know that it was linked to cortisol because of what I was going through. Just a quick little backstory is that I dealt with and worked through PTSD and panic disorder for over 6 years. I was in the throes of it for 4. And it took me, 2 hardcore years to come out. And then it's been a recovery of the last 4 years to try and transform and reclaim the life that I lost while I was dealing with all of these things. And that includes my body, claiming my health, all that. Because I was dealing with that, I had increased cortisol. I had everything going on. I was obese. I was frozen with fear and panic. I developed type 2 diabetes. And so here I was again. It was a second blow to my ego. It was a second blow to my life. And I was like, what in the actual hell is going on here? How can I change this? I don't like this roller coaster that I'm on, and what am I going to do? And knowing full well that I wasn't comfortable or confident with what I had learned all of my life to get out of this. And I was faced with I don't know how to win this. And believe me, I was tempted by so many fast fixes, but I knew for me that was not the answer. I'd done them. I couldn't go down that road. I was literally on the edge of a tipping point that could have been drastically detrimental to my health. So back to excuse me, the whole cortisol, the increased appetite, the sugar cravings, and the added abdominal fat. Even mild stress, like worrying about, you know, I wonder if the dog's going to get off the leash in the backyard, can kick off a flight and fight response. So the same stress response happens when you experience common negative emotions like anger, fear, and guilt. So if you find yourself in a position where you're frequently and easily getting angered, where you're constantly living in fear, or you're constantly just beating yourself up with the guilt of the world, you're going to be experiencing these increased levels of cortisol, just like I did at that time and like many of the people around you. So the fight and flight response prepares the body for danger. It gets it ready to either fight off an attack or take flight. Um, and what happens is pardon me, you're since this stress response was intended to save you from an immediate threat, all of your body's defense systems are quickly activated. So your adrenaline levels increase, your muscle tightens, and your blood pressure and heart rate and blood sugar all rise so that you can react quicker, run faster, and climb higher. Because all your body's energy is being channeled towards self defense, most essential functions such as digestion are either slowed down or shut down altogether. Now, indigestion doesn't register as an urgent issue when you're literally running for your life, so it shuts down. But that inability to digest the food properly and efficiently have it efficiently has a negative impact on your metabolism, and it prevents your body from absorbing the nutrition that it desperately needs. So without that nutritional essential nutrition and the nourishment, then your body may trigger a feeling of hunger, and not because it's hungry, but more because it's a stress response that's rendered it unable to properly digest the food that's available to you. So pardon me. The key that we, want to focus on, and what I focus on whenever we first start any kind of program for all things, but especially for weight loss, is taking a look and a picture at what your story looks like, what your wellness story looks like. Are you in a stressful situation? How are you impacted? And then we find ways to reduce that stress, to take you back to a zero baseline or as close to a zero baseline as possible. We may do this by using meditation, tapping, all kinds of cool and amazing things like that that have been proven to really, really, truly reduce the effects of these things. So, and it allows you, whenever you are reduced in that stress, to really, truly retrain your brain to start a new story, create a new loop, and get out of that reactive response to those things. Now, there are two sides to panic, and we don't often talk about the two sides to panic that happen. But what I want you to consider here is the first one, of course, is to fight. And everything gets increased, and you're in that place of the adrenaline, the cortisol, everything running through, and you're ready to go. You can face anything. But on the other side of that, there's defeat. And this is often called the deceptive calm. And it looks a lot like giving up. It looks a lot like surrendering to, whatever happened because that was just meant to be. It may look like, if I strip it right down. So let's say, you have you're following a healthy wellness plan, and you slip off the track and you eat a bag full of Girl Guide cookies. The defeat side of panic and guilt. And I have to add that, the reason that you slipped off the track is that a major incident happened and you started this stress response of, reaching for something to soothe you, comfort you, and your body was internally telling you that you needed to do this. So that side is like, oh, okay, well, the defeat side of you is going, well, all right, so I fell off. I may as well just go ahead and eat, some more. Or, oh, it doesn't really matter. This is my story. This is, what I do. And this is what I just have to accept. So I want you to consider that the next time that you are faced with a situation in which you have been sabotaged, or roadblocked. In that moment, I want you to take a breath, and I want you to understand that there is something bigger that is working for you and against you right now. Right now, that crazy little amygdala in the brain is sending off false signals. So identify it as just a false signal. Breathe through it. Don't reach for those things. Deal with the emotions that come about. Why are you feeling this way? What has got you so stressed that this can happen? And how can you reduce it? I work a lot with tapping, and in tapping, there is a tree metaphor that describes, how certain things happen, and how they're, the situations are kind of, they play out in your life. So I want you to for a minute, just consider a thought that your life, you are right now looking like a big, beautiful rooted tree. Okay. And you can see this tree in front of you. And I want you to imagine that the roots of the tree are your limiting beliefs. So these are what you believe to be true or not be true about ourselves in the world. The trunk represents past events. Often this is traumatic. That's, things that have happened that are still with us and still affect us today. They could be life-changing events that took place, or, things that definitely stopped you in your tracks and created a totally different outcome. So in the trunk of that tree, that's where we hold all of this stuff. And you move into the branches of the tree. These are the emotions that come up, including things like shame and frustration and hopelessness, anger, and just indecision. Okay. So finally, you're going to get to the leaves, and the leaves are the side effects or the external symptoms that manifest and add to your stress. So maybe what this looks like is that, the story, the limiting beliefs from your past were that, you aren't capable of being a certain number, or living a certain way, based on your family history, because nobody in your family looked like that. Then you started to go through the events of your life, and all of a sudden you saw a family member die of this, or you lost this person here, or you had a situation in which one of your peers said, "Oh my God, look at you," and that carved, out this, "Oh my goodness gracious," this loop of, "Don't look at me. I don't want you to see me," and you fell away. Maybe you had a relationship in which the partner that you were with shamed you in some way. This would definitely impact in those events in that trunk of the tree. As a result of this, the emotions of anger, frustration, fear, anxiety, all those things can come up. And then the symptoms of that are that in your world you're showing up and you're never ever allowing yourself to move past a certain point. Maybe you are in physical pain that has been created because of the resistance and the belief that you can't move past this stage because nobody else in your family did. So just think about that for a minute, because that's a really good place to kind of get a snapshot, a picture, and an idea of where and how our emotions, how our stories affect us. And then, of course, we come into the whole emotional eating thing. And most of us, I know I'm a prime example of this, most of us emotional eat at one point in time in our life. How many times have we watched movies where you know, um, the girls just broke up with somebody, and the first thing they reach for is a tub of Haagen-Dazs. We've been watching it visually on screen for how many years? Or maybe in your own family, when things are going bad, you just go to the store and buy everything that could ever given you comfort throughout the whole time and eat it all. Or maybe this looks like you don't eat, don't eat, don't eat, don't eat, don't eat, and then all of a sudden you just sit down and you gorge and you just don't know when to stop. There's nothing to regulate there. So, as you can see, our experiences, our roots, in our events of our lives create the outcome of what we're living, the loop in what we're living. I have a brand new program called Bloom, and it's an online program that is delivered straight to your inbox. It's set up with 6 different modules where we talk about all of these things to get you to a place and a point of looking at the real picture, to taking a very clear look and snapshot of where you are in your weight management and wellness story. There is one-on-one coaching. There is video teaching support. There is email support. There's accountability. There is introduction and education around what your healthy wellness story looks like, what the potential is, and how you can make the little shifts each day to really truly claim it. I talked earlier about the components that were necessary to really truly succeed in living the best version of your life, and that is a healthy whole foods diet of all things that are suitable for you. And inside Bloom, we would help you get there to decide what that was. If you have restrictions or anything like that, that's okay. We can help you get there and figure out what are the best versions and of goodness that you can choose for your specific diet. What the next thing is movement. How are you moving? Where are you moving? What are you doing? And why it's important. And the third thing is really truly healing the story of the wellness that got us to where we are today, to identifying, to changing, shifting, and then to implementing strong, healthy habits that will in fact change the course and direction of your wellness story for the rest of your life. I want to play a little game here with you today. It's called the Hunger Game. And this kind of goes to the emotional hunger versus physical hunger and what's the difference. So, emotional hunger means that you turn to food either to avoid uncomfortable emotions or to heighten pleasurable ones. So it means that you eat based on how you feel instead of what your body needs. So examples of this emotional hunger feelings is eating for comfort or out of loneliness or sadness, eating out of boredom. I know I've done this many times. Eating to try and soothe anxious or depressed feelings. Again, checkbox for me. Or eating to feel an achy heart. Whereas physical hunger means that you eat when your body signals you to do that, and in fact you are hungry. So it means that you stop eating when you're satisfied and before you become uncomfortably full. This is something inside of my programs that was a game changer for a lot of people, because most of us don't know how to do that. We don't know how to self-regulate between emotions and sensations. So the examples of physical hunger, the sensations, our stomachs are growling, you get that hollow hungry sensation in your body feels weak or your energy goes down, and your blood sugar gets low and you feel shaky or you feel lightheaded or faint. So what will learning to listen to your body do? It will free you from being a slave to food. Nourishment is important, but you don't have to be that slave to food. And what this means for you is that you're going to feel more in control of your eating. You're going to be less dependent on food to help your moods and emotions. But by listening to your physical hunger signals, you can determine how hungry and full you really are. And as you practice this, you're really going to be able to pinpoint where your body is at any given moment. You know, I've spoken about this before, and we got an amazing gift the day that we were born, and that was this strong, confident body that is right here to help us, to keep us safe and healthy and strong. And it shows up even whenever we don't show up. It keeps us moving. I mean, if you've ever, needed a huge motivator, take a look at your body. It shows up through all of the shittiest times, and it does its best. It never gives up. And so I think that part of the reason in which I know that I had the disconnect and why developing my Bloom program was so important was that we have, as a society, have been programmed and trained to disassociate ourselves from our body, to strive higher, to reach farther, but don't listen to what's going on and work with the well-oiled machine that runs us. We don't listen to the cues it gives us. We don't listen to it whenever it just needs to shut down. We push even further. And then we get sick. And then we get sick, and then we're in the blame game. And honestly, the only reason that we're sick is because we created this mess. So there's no denying that changing your life to a whole foods, healthy way of living is hard work. There's no denying that losing excess weight that we have put on because of situations and our lifestyles and our events and our trunks of our tree and our roots is hard work. But when you align yourself and get in connection with the whole system, so much to this learning how to not be a slave to the food, to the emotions, to all those things, but literally listening to this body that knows exactly when we need to stop, and then retraining your brain to identify those cues and fully listen to them, you will change your life. In the last 2 years, from following this program myself and making these adjustments and shifts to the healthy lifestyle and wellness menu that I was eating in the movement, I have grown and transformed in leaps and bounds because I'm listening. My body's working with me instead of me working against it. So I said earlier in the program that, this is going to take work. There's no fast fix. You ultimately are the only one that can change the course direction that you are on. And yes, it's daunting, but you can do it, and I believe that you can do it. Just make the choice. Choose wisely whenever you're doing that. You can have a fast fix, you can get there quick, but know that the risk is that you are going to fall straight backwards because you've not changed the whole story. Your story. And that's the power, is that all of this is your story to develop, to change, to implement, and to truly own. And I believe that you can do that because I just believe. And you know, as I said to you before, I'm here and I want to be able to help you. So listening to your physical hunger signals, you can actually determine how hungry or full that you really are. With practice, you're able to pinpoint where your body is at any given moment. And by doing so, you will retrain yourself to stop eating before you're too full and to not turn to foods when you're not actually hungry, but are in fact bored, upset, anxious, or depressed. So we identify them and we address them and we move through them, and they no longer become symptoms, events, and the vicious cycle stops. So I'm going to be doing a really cool little Wisdom Wednesday video takeaway with all kinds of tips and stuff that will be starting here shortly. And we'll go through all kinds of things that can help you to develop your own inner ability to listen, to transform, and to really, truly change the patterns and the directions. Like I said earlier, Bloom is my new self-development awareness online program that's available. It is for weight loss and weight management, and it's a 6-week program. It's $149 Canadian. You can order it on the website at www.thechroniclesofmommamac.com, and you will have 6 modules of change available to you. I promise you, if you take the time and work through each one of those modules, you will have that brain shift that is needed to really, truly implement the other pieces of movement and nourishment. So I invite you to take a look at all that we do. I invite you to practice this week, finding out what your words are. What does your tree look like? Jot them down. Identify your, limiting beliefs. Identify those times in which your life was turned on its track and it created those events. Identify the emotions that come out all around them. And then let's work and see if you have symptoms that are going on. I bet you that you're going to see excess weight, you're going to see anxiety, you're going to see pain, you're going to see depression, you're going to see all these things. Let's work on healing it all to really, truly have a blossoming tree of life, because you're so powerful and it's all there. You just need to turn the switch back on again. So that, my dearest friends, wraps up episode 2 of Real Talk with Mama Mac. I am so very, very thankful for you showing up here today, for you being a part of my world, and for you to lean in as I share from the gifts that I've been given to help shine a light in the areas of the world that I feel need it right now. If you need to reach out to me, you can reach me on the website. I am here. There's all kinds of ways in which I can support you. If you're looking for some accountability coaching, if you're looking to change directions, to initiate and empower, I am here. So from my heart to your heart, from my home in the Chronicles of Momma Mac home studio, I thank you and I wish you a very, very beautiful and wonderful day. Till next time, my friends, we will see you in the sessions. Have a great day. For more information about the programs and workshops offered from the Chronicles of Momma Mac and Heather McIntyre, International Life and Wellness Empowerment Coach, check out the website at www.thechroniclesofmommamac.com. Find us on Facebook at thechroniclesofmommamac.com, Instagram at thechroniclesofmommamac.com, and right here on YouTube. Take care. Bye-bye.